Mr. President, have you received from your Chief of Cyber Command any briefing on electronic interference from either internal or external influences? Have you received this briefing?
We're dealing with John Ratcliffe, who's fantastic. We're dealing with other people, and we don't always get, they've been there for a long time, Maria. It's a long story. It's a long story. We're disappointed that other people, more people didn't get involved because this is a fraud. This is a fraud against the American people. It's a fraud against the United States of America. And we're disappointed that some people don't get more involved. Like this character on 60 Minutes, they're putting him on. This guy, we had so many things. He's talking about how honest the election is. Well, how come there are thousands of dead people voting? How come there are all these other people voting that shouldn't be voting? How come we find thousands of votes? How come poll watchers, every vote that went through an election area, what they call it a counting area, where our poll watchers were locked out of the building, outside, standing outside, or standing so far away that you couldn't see, where they literally went out and said for binoculars, you're supposed to be right next to that vote. Well, every one of them is a fraud. So how can he say, other than he's an anti-Trumper, how can this guy say that there was no fraud? 60 Minutes, by the way, never called us for comment. They do a piece on somebody. They don't call us for comment. But when you don't have a poll watcher and thousands of votes are passing that area where you're supposed to have a poll watcher to see that everything's on the up and up, well, those are votes that count toward us. Those are thousands of votes. And they were done in many of the states, swing states that we're talking about.
Where is the DOJ and the FBI in all of this, Mr. President? You have laid out some serious charges here. Shouldn't this be something that the FBI is investigating? Are they?
Missing in action.
Is the DOJ investigating?
Missing in action. Can't tell you where they are. I ask, are they looking at it? Everyone says yes, they're looking at it. Look, where are they with Comey, McCabe, and all these other people? I said I'll stay out of it. I wish I didn't make that statement. There's no reason really why I have to. But where are they with Comey, with McCabe, with Brennan, with all these people? They lied to Congress. They lied. They leaked. They spied in our campaign. I see Carter Page is bringing a lawsuit. That's good news. Where are they with all of this stuff? And, what happened to Durham? Where's Durham? So, you're asking me a question. These people have been there a long time. And I know FBI, and FBI is great at the levels that we talk about. But it's inconceivable. You would think if you're in the FBI or Department of Justice, this is the biggest thing you could be looking at. Where are they? I've not seen anything. They just keep moving along, and they go on to the next president. They've been there for a long time. People don't understand this. They've been there for a long time. Some of them have served a lot of different presidents, and they have their own views. All I can say is I haven't heard, with all of the fraud that's taken place, nobody's come to me and said, oh, the FBI's nabbed, the people that are doing this scheme. The FBI is looking at Dominion, which nobody even knows where they're based, which nobody even knows where the votes are counted. The votes in Dominion, they say, are counted in foreign countries, okay? Can you believe this? Now, Dominion is also based in a number of foreign countries. One of them is Canada. And Canada refuses to use Dominion, and they're based there. They won't get anywhere near. Texas will not get anywhere near Dominion. I spoke with the Attorney General. I spoke with a lot of different people. Texas, you should see the reports that Texas wrote on Dominion. They wouldn't use them. They wouldn't, under any circumstance, they wouldn't use them. So, as you probably have heard. But Canada does paper votes. And the only way this is going to be safe is paper votes. Even the mailmen, look, the mailmen are carrying thousands of ballots back and forth, back and forth. There are many mailmen that are in big trouble right now for selling ballots, getting rid of ballots. This is the craziest thing you've ever seen. But many ballots with the name Trump on were thrown out. You've read that. They found ballots in a river with the name Trump on from the military. They were signed, and they were floating in a river. They found ballots under rocks that had the name Trump on. They were signed. They were signed with Trump. We won the election easily. There's no way Joe Biden got 80 million votes. I just said there's no way Joe Biden beat Barack Obama in the black communities of various cities, and then he did very badly compared to Obama in other cities throughout the United States. There's no way it happened. This election was a fraud. It was a rigged election.
This is disgusting, and we cannot allow America's election to be corrupted. We cannot. So you believe you can prove that the computers can circumvent any controls that are in place. And before we leave the subject of Durham, I feel like something happened in September. I don't know what happened, but we were all expecting Durham to come out and AG Barr to be aggressive. He told me back in June that mail-in ballots opened the floodgates of fraud. Why wasn't anything done about it? Why weren't there surveillance cameras to shoot what we know now to be trucks backing up ballots, for example, in Michigan? And finally, this question, will you appoint a special counsel to investigate and to continue the investigating into what took place in the 2016 election? You mentioned Jim Comey and Andrew McCabe not facing accountability. Will you appoint a special counsel?
By the way, Comey and McCabe, that's the least of it. You talk about the Logan Act. They used the Logan Act on General Flynn, who I was very proud to pardon. But they wanted to use, and they did use the Logan Act on General Flynn. And you know where that started. Look, this whole thing is a terrible situation. This should have never been allowed to happen. And it's an embarrassment to our country. All over the world, they're talking about it. And, yeah, I would consider a special prosecutor because, this is not a counsel. It sounds so nice. I went through 3 years of a special counsel prosecutor. I call prosecutor because it's a much more accurate term. They spent $48 million, Weissman and all Trump haters. They spent $48 million. That was the Mueller investigation. They went through taxes. They went through everything. For $48 million, you look at everything, and they found no collusion, no nothing. They found nothing. After friends of mine said, you must be the cleanest guy in the world, because nobody could have gone through an examination like that. And then they announced we have no collusion. There was none. And Marco Rubio said, President Trump, with the Senate Judiciary hearings, absolutely was totally uninvolved. It had nothing to do with Russia. Okay, it was a Russia hoax. It was just pure hoax. It was a pure hoax and a very sad thing for the country. And as much as I've done, and I think I've done more than virtually in 4 years, more than any president in history with Space Force and tax cuts, biggest regulation cuts in history, biggest tax cuts in history, the vets, the VA. As much as I've done, I could have done more, except that I was under investigation for almost the entire, from the day I came down the escalator with what turned out to be our future First Lady, who's very popular, by the way. But when I came down the escalator from very shortly thereafter, and you know this almost better than anybody else, I was under investigation. Now, at the time, I didn't know it, but I was. All they do is investigate. Then they send everything they have into New York. When I beat them in the federal, I beat them in federal. They send everything into New York. Oh, let them take a crack at it. What's going on in this country is not to be believed. I could say some very strong words where this country's gone over the last 10 or 15 years, but it's not to be believed. And we were changing it. If I got in or get in, we will very quickly have deals with Iran. But now they're going to give the ship away. They'll pay hundreds of billions of dollars to Iran. China didn't want me in because we were beating China so badly. And now they're going to go. China actually stated, you probably heard it 2 days ago, we want to deal with the United States, but we don't like America first. And now the Democrats are saying, oh, we won't use America first. America first is exactly what it is. America first. We have to take care of ourselves first, and then we can help others. But we have to take care of ourselves first, or we won't have a country. But that's where we are, Maria. It's a very sad thing. Why isn't the FBI all over the place? They're not. They're not. It's an incredible thing. They're not. And it's an embarrassment to our country.